Hi there, friends. Welcome to Clearday. My name is Desiree. Today we are going to be making a fun gift that you can surprise anybody with. Anybody who's, means something to you, want to give them a gift. This is something that you can do right at home, super easy. Make them a card, but not just any card. The cards we'll be making today, they will be able to plant and grow a garden. So let me just kind of go over some of the supplies that you will be needing. So to start, you're going to need some seeds, okay? You will need shredded paper, like so, water, and a blender. I'm using a little handheld portable one. You can use any blender you have. I went ahead and soaked my paper in water overnight. So it's been sitting in there for a while, so it's nice and soft. You'll need some type of cardstock to make your card. And I'm doing it super simple. All you'll need to do is just fold this in half. Okay, so they can be larger cards. If you'd like, you can cut that down and make a much smaller card. Additionally, you'll need some green paint because we are going to make a stalk and some leaves to go with our flowers. And you could optionally use some cookie cutters. I just got some at the Dollar Tree, the dollar store. And I'm using a lavender plant that is struggling to make it right now to add some color in my paper. You could additionally use colored paper instead of just white, but I'm using what we have in our shredder. Also, you'll need some type of wax paper, parchment paper. This is palette paper, so it's got a wax finish to it. It just helps for you to sop up the water, which brings me to the next thing. You'll need some paper towels, napkins, a sponge. You can use anything to soak up water. I'm using paper towels because it's much simpler for me. And some glue. Okay, and then additionally, if you're going to use different colored green paints, you can have your water and paintbrush handy. So that is all the supplies that we will be needing for today's fun craft. Tune in and I will be right back to show you what our first step will be. So now that we've gone over our supplies, we're going to start with our first step. And our first step is going to be to gather some of this paper and get it blended down. So what I'd like to do is start by adding a little bit of water into my blender. I'm going to just use this bowl here to withdraw from our big bowl. And I'm not going to make too big of a batch, but just pour some water in there, just like so. Then I'm going to reach into my bin and grab some of the shredded paper right out of it. Not too much. Let's see. I guess I can do a little bit more. Okay. Just try to eyeball it. You want this to get blended down and still be able to kind of have a nice consistency that you can spread out. Water on the table. As you can see here, this is a little thicker. And if that happens to you in your blender, just feel free to add a little bit more water. It's no biggie. So I'm just going to add a little bit more water. And this should make it just right. All right. Shaking it around. Perfect. This is a great consistency. You want it to be a little runnier. I'm trying to think of what kind of consistency that would be. Just going to pour it out for you. Almost like a smoothie. All right. So now that we have this wonderful consistency, we have blended paper. Let's move this out of the frame. We don't need these things anymore. we're going to add, our second step is going to be to add in our seed mixture into this mixture that we have here, as well as to add any kind of leaves or flowers that you might have around in the yard. If you take nature walks, feel free to pick things that you might find. I found these this morning on my walk with my puppy. And I thought, wow, these kind of go with the lavender. Let's see how it comes out if we put some of those in there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add some real flowers and little buds in here. This is great for adding color. It's what we want, right? It smells lovely too. All right. So I'm just going to add these beautiful purple flowers into my paper mixture. Get all these buds in. Then I'd like to add in some of this lavender that I have for my plant here. I'm hoping I can take it home and revive it and save it. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean these off here. This lavender smells really good. All right, so now that I have done that, it's time to pick out the flowers we want to put in here. I have some zinnia, some marigold, some daisies. I think these are called alyssum, and some poppies. And so I know I want to do some zinnias. And another thing to keep in mind is seeds they come in different sizes and different colors. Like these are larger seeds, right? We might just do all of them. There's not very many in these packages. I think it would look really nice. Look at that. That's so pretty. Just mix them all in here. What a great gift, right? If you have somebody in your life that helps you and you want to reward, thank them. So rewarding to receive something like this because they can take it home and they can get their little recycled paper in their card and plant it, and they'll think of you. They'll remember you. All right, I'm just going to mix all of these seeds in here. There's not very many in these packets, so let's do that. All right, now for the fun part. You could use a spoon for this, but I'm going to use my hands. Who needs a spoon when you have fingers? And so I'm just going to mix all of this up in this bowl. I hope you can see. I'm mixing all of these seeds up. This blended paper that I have here, it smells amazing. This lavender is something else. Okay. So now that I've mixed all of these seeds in with the flowers that I had, you can do two things on this step. This is step 3. You can, by hand, mold a shape by placing your paper down. Okay, just mold it. Show you how to do that first. So you place it out. I want this to look like a flower. So with the petals, you can do that. Then you're going to have your paper towel. And I'm actually going to do one at a time. And you're just going to dab excess water right out of it. So just by simply placing your paper towel right here on top, you're going to soak up any excess water. There we go. So all the excess is coming out. And what's left behind, you just be very gentle. Nothing comes on your paper towel. Nothing should come up. And if it does, it's okay. But really, it should just be your seeds and the paper left here. And you're just going to let that dry. Another thing that you can do here in step 3 is use a cookie cutter. And here we have some shapes. I usually leave the thicker edge down at the bottom here because the water can drain out from underneath. And what you're going to do is you're just going to grab some of this paper, this mixture here, and you're just going to throw it in there and spread it evenly right in there with your fingers. Just mash it down as best you can. And then any excess water that you see coming out the edges of your cookie cutter, you're just going to soak up the water, just like so. You can even move it around on your wax paper, like back and forth, to get some of that water out. Just keep soaking up that water. Then you can take your paper towel and go right in there and just mash down. Mash down, and it'll soak up all the excess water. There we go. So let me do this again. And keep in mind, the more mixture you add, the thicker your paper shapes will be, and they'll dry. So if you like, this one's much thinner. I did it by hand. They're all going to be different shapes and sizes. It's not about perfection here. This is about getting to the end result, which is getting these planted in the ground and giving them to somebody who will really appreciate that. All right, so I'm just going to keep mashing. And then you can kind of just go around the edges and kind of mush it around to loosen it up. And ta-da, you have yourself a heart shape here. Let's do a star, because this one's a little trickier. This one has these little points, so it's kind of hard to get in there. You'll have to really mash these down pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do. Just going to mash that around. We're going to pick up this excess water coming out of the sides. Any water we see. What's great is that once you get your mold and your shape, you can move on and reuse the same cookie cutter. So I didn't mean to do that. That's all right. So now I'm just going to go in the center there. Really, nothing comes up. You would think that this might stick, but it doesn't. Stick to the paper towel. I don't know how it would work on a sponge or a rag or towel, but I know that the paper towels, it holds. It stands. All right. So now I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of squish the edges and slowly try to lift this one up. And making sure to get into the corners here. And there we have it. All right. And let's just do a circle. Actually, you know what? We've done enough with the cookie cutters. I think that another thing I wanted to show you is how you can still get your shapes using what you have lying around. Circles. You might have a cup or a jar or something. If you don't want to do it by hand and you don't have cookie cutters, let me show you a way that you can still get a shape using what you have lying around the house. So I'm just using the lid to my blender, and I'm going to make a circle here. So I'm just going to plop down a mixture like so. And just like we have done with the others, I'm going to try to pick up some of this excess water. Okay, just by simply laying this down right on top, we're picking up a lot of this water. Okay, and then when that gets full, we'll get some more. Okay, so now we got a lot of the water up. I want to show you how you can use a shape. I'm just going to get my circle here, and I'm going to mash down really hard, and I'm going to go around the outside and move away that blended paper that's left on the outside. Any of that mixture. I'm just going to pick it up and put it back in our bowl, just like so. And then when I pick this up, we're left with the circle. See? So you can be creative. Use what you have around the house. It's not necessary to go out and buy supplies, but you can do that too. This is a great activity to do with just about anyone. So if you have any grandchildren or family, kids that you'd like to try this with, feel free to do it. This is a really great idea for gift giving and can be done year round because the seeds aren't going to go, they're not going to go bad or anything. They're going to last a while. So then the next step will be to let this dry. Okay. You could even keep these as is. You can turn them into like a little tag to put on a gift, a present. It doesn't have to be a card. So this is essentially, in and of itself, the whole deal. But our next step, step 4, will be making it into a card. So I will be right back and we'll have that set up going. So our next step, we will be making the card. You could use any type of cardstock or paper that you have. I'm using this craft color paper just to keep it kind of like with the garden feel and holistic. So I have here some dried homemade paper, seed paper, recycled paper. And these were made by hand without using any sort of cookie cutter or any kind of form. I just try to make them look like petals on a flower. What we'll need to do, I have a bigger one here and a smaller one. And we will need to paint on our stem and leaves. So I have here 4 shades of green. I feel like you using the darker greens could add, some shadowing. You can make it look more realistic by layering lighter and darker greens. So that's what we're going to do. And I have a paper towel just to kind of dab if I need to. So you can mix these greens up. I'm going to start with a dark color, like so. And I'm going to do a longer stem here. You can start off with a really thin line and make it thicker at the bottom. Whatever feels comfortable for you, whatever feels fine. And then again, we're going to do a smaller one here. All right, and then you can go in there and layer some lighter greens in there, just to give it some highlight. So here is my stems so far, okay? So I'm just putting in a line, I'm curving it a little bit, right? It doesn't have to be a straight up and down line, it can be. My tip here for your leaves would be to start small up here, make like a leaf shape, and move down and make them larger as you go further down. Also, I wouldn't do them side by side, but I would kind of rotate them a little bit. Oh, I made that one really big. So every other leaf would be, I'm actually going to go with the darker green here. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm kind of giving it some space, right? They're not exactly on both sides a leaf. And that just kind of adds to make it look a little more realistic. All right, then we'll move along. Over here, we'll do our smaller leaves up at the top and allow them to gradually get bigger as we go down. And when you're making your leaves, try to think of the movement in nature. Like what plants typically do. They curve. They're not always straight up and down or side to side, right? Okay, and so I'm just going to add some of this lighter green in here and just kind of mix these greens up some. And this is where I'm at so far. Okay, so that is what we are doing. Just take your time and do that. All right. I do believe that I am done. Okay, so now that we have that, going to need to add some glue. to get our seeds glued onto our card. So I'm just going to, and you can pick which side you want to use. I like the texture on this side, so I'm going to go with that as face up. And it shows those beautiful flowers that we used. You could use a brush to add your glue. I'm just pouring it on. All right. Then you're just going to place your flowers like so. However you want to position them. And there we have ourselves recycled paper with flower seeds that you made. It's art and a gift all in one. I hope that you enjoyed today's project. We'll see you again next time.